Good afternoon, everybody in my aspiring authors group. How are you this week? What's been happening with your writing? It's been very quiet in here. I know I've been on holiday for a week, but I'm back now, so I want to see you engaging in this group and letting me know what you're doing with your writing. So the reason I've popped in now is the end of my working day, and this is my week, the first week of the month. Every month is what I call my writing week, in that I do all of my social media for the next month in the first week of the previous month. So this week I am writing, all of my content for June. So it's Wednesday. Is it Wednesday? I can't even remember what day it is. It's Wednesday, and I have written 4 blogs, each around 1,500 words, and 8 newsletters. And over the next 2 days, I intend to write 28 days of social media content, so that I know by the end of week 1 of this month, I've got all of June's content written. And that content goes out to my team, and they can then edit it, add links, add images to it, and schedule all of that on my social media. It makes the whole process a lot easier for everybody involved in my team. It's a really heavy week for me. My head is done in, but the reason I've popped in midway through the week into this author group, this is about what I was talking about for the couple of weeks prior to me going on holiday, about managing yourself as an author, about managing your time and actually allocating time. And some of the things I've spoken about in the blogs and the newsletters that I've written to date, up to Wednesday, have been connected to that. And last night on my live, on my main page, I talked about giving yourself tasks, managing your time, and managing the time that you allocate. So I allocate 1 hour to writing a blog, 1,500 word blog. So I've got to be really focused and really at a point of being in my prime biological time, my highest energy, my most hydrated, my most rested, so that I can go in and sit down and write for a full hour and produce a blog. So when you're writing 4 blogs in a week and 8 newsletters, you've got to be writing at a time that really, really fits. And what I do first is write the blogs first, then the newsletters, then the social media, because it all kind of flows, the content flows nice and easily then, because the hardest part is writing the blogs. But I've just written a newsletter that prompted me to come into the group. And the newsletter is called What is Your Legacy? Because when I became a mum, I made a conscious decision that I wanted to leave a legacy for my children. And I don't mean a house and a wad of money, although that will be nice and I'll probably do that. I wanted to leave them a story. I wanted to leave them a story about a woman who went for it, who lived her life in full, and who went for her dreams and her goals relentlessly, and taught them by doing and being. And part of that legacy is my writing, be it blogs, newsletters, or be it the books that I write. And you are here because you are aspiring authors. So I want you to think about it in that way. Writing the newsletter made me think about it in that way. I'd automatically done it, but when you put structure to something, you start to think about it. Now imagine writing a newsletter called What is Your Legacy? And explaining that, and how you could then use that in your social media content to really prompt people to start thinking about what it is that they are leaving as a legacy. What we do, and I'm not saying everybody, because I don't do this, therefore there's billions of other people that don't do this, is we float through life almost just allowing life to take us on a journey instead of dictating what we want that journey to be, writing the story ourselves instead of reading somebody else's story. This is a story of society, the story of what other people want us to do. So this, for me, this group is more than just about teaching you how to write and what to write. It's about teaching you about how to think and how that thinking then enters its way into your writing. So my prompt for today is to think about writing your story. What's the rest of your life going to look like? Write it. You be the creator of that story, and you leave the legacy that you want for your children to be able to tell that story. So this is what I imagine, okay? I imagine myself floating around my kids when I've popped my clogs. When I'm a ghost, I'm Ghost Mandy, okay? And I'm floating around my kids and I'm listening to them say things like, remember when Mum did this? Thanks, Mandy, I needed to hear this. Oh, my pleasure. Remember when Mum did this, and remember when Mum said this, and remember when Mum wrote this book, and remember, you know, Mum's website. I imagine floating around my kids and listening to them talking about me. And I'm smiling. And I'm smiling because I've left them a story to tell. I've made the effort during my lifetime to write my own story, therefore leaving my legacy for my kids. And I want them to smile and laugh when they're talking about this ridiculous, weird hippie woman that wrote all of this stuff that was just put out there into the ether for other people to read, that some will love and some will hate. And I don't care, because it doesn't matter whether you love or hate what's been written, what's been painted, and what's been put out there. The fact is that somebody did it, and that becomes your legacy. So I've written a lot this week about lots of different subjects. I've written about loneliness to leadership and how they are connected, because I've read 6 books in the last month. And it's really weird. 3 of those books covered the subject of loneliness. So that sent me on a journey of discovery, and I went and researched that and then wrote a blog about it. Because this is what happens. This is where my context come from. This is where my stories come from. I've read other people's work and thought, isn't that weird? 50% of the books that I've read were about loneliness. Let's go and have a look at loneliness. And actually, what came out of it was the connection between loneliness and taking on leadership in our lives. Isn't that weird? And that's just me connecting the dots and putting that together in my weird and unique way. And that then becomes part of my story and my legacy that I leave behind for my children, because it's going on my website as a blog, as a piece that I've written. And that makes me feel like I'm not only doing something productive for the clients that I may have or may work with, or the people who may read that story, but I'm also doing it for my children as part of this legacy. And when you write, it pulls all of that together. It pulls your thoughts together. It's like journaling. For me, writing blogs, writing newsletters, writing social media content is almost like journaling. It's pulling together all these thoughts that I have, all these ideas, all these stories, and putting them into lots of different formats that hopefully someone out there will read and it will make a difference to them. And this is what you do with your writing. This is what you can do as an aspiring author with your writing. You are going to make a difference to somebody. You are going to draw somebody into your story and your thinking and your thoughts. They may not agree with you, but that doesn't matter. Debate is good. It doesn't matter whether people agree with what you say, or whether there's an academic somewhere that's going to challenge your thoughts or your beliefs. It does not matter. If we didn't have things out there that challenge thoughts and beliefs, wouldn't life be dull? It's not all one person's view of the world. We are all allowed to have our view of the world. We are all allowed to have our opinion. We are all allowed to tell our stories in whatever way that we want to tell them. So get writing, start telling your stories, and please, 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 please share your work in this group. I am dying to see some more stories, some more work. I'm still waiting for more short stories to come in. I am really patient. I'm not going to push you, but I would love to have some of your work in this book. It's not gone away. It's still sitting there as one of the things I want to achieve in 2021, that I get a group of women in this group published through Amazon in a book of short stories. So that has not left my list of things to do, ladies. It's still there. I am just waiting for you. Tell your story, leave your legacy. It's worth it. Hope that's helped you today. There's no handouts. This was just me babbling this afternoon. So I will see you again next week sometime with more weird and wacky thoughts. See you then. Have a great week.